Let's get started, and we'll start at the top of the list. This is the one that everyone is gripping about, and it's for President of the United States. Okay, let me say up front, and I think you know this about me if you've already watched. I am not a Republican and I am not a Democrat. I am a registered independent. I've been registered independent for over 10 years, and I'm a registered independent because I don't like the Republicans and Democrats. And for prior to being independent, I have been a member of the Libertarian Party, but that whole party has gone bananas. Even though I agree with many, but not all, of their positions on a wide range of issues. Philosophically, I'm sort of in that camp, kind of, but not really. Independent is really the place that I am. So I'm not a big hardcore Trump guy. In fact, I don't like Trump, and I'm not a hardcore Democrat or Harris supporter either. So, I'm looking at this list, and there's one of the good things is that we actually have 6 choices on the ballot, plus the write-in. So there's the Democrats, Harris and Walsh. Kennedy is on the ballot here with Shanahan. There's the Libertarian, Chase Oliver, Jill Stein, the Green Party spoiler, Donald Trump, and then Claudia de la Cruz. I guess that's the Peace and Freedom Party. Okay. Let me set up a couple of ground rules here. And this is kind of how I frame this election in my mind. Okay. Number one, when I vote in an election, I am expressing my values. I am expressing what I believe, what I like, what I support. And by not choosing candidates, I'm also expressing my values on who I don't support. So I'm not going into this voting booth. And this, by the way, this podcast is the voting booth. But when I go into the voting booth, I'm not thinking in my head, I got to vote for this guy, because if I don't, then it's a wasted vote. And then my vote really counts for someone else. And people go through all of this calculus, these mental gymnastics, to try to say a vote for candidate C is really a vote for candidate A. And it's just nonsense. So, number one, my main objective for this presidential election is Trump must lose. Trump must lose. Trump is a disgrace. Now, it's well documented, all the things that people don't like about Trump, but I kind of come at it from a different angle. I'm a big believer in our inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's baked into the United States Declaration of Independence, right there in the preamble. You probably learned that as a child. And so that is kind of the measuring stick that I use to see if any of these candidates are worthy. And Trump fails badly on this. Now, we're going to set his character aside, which is abysmal, and his character alone is good reason to vote no. Let's just set that aside for a minute, and let's just talk about the policies, because the policies are what the Republicans are always saying, oh, he's not a really good guy, you don't have to be his friend, but his policies are good. No, his policies are terrible. They're terrible. Okay, so first of all, this whole anti-immigrant rhetoric is un-American. I mean, it violates the basic core of who America is. This is a nation of immigrants. And on top of it, we all have inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that doesn't just mean Republicans and Democrats. That doesn't mean, Americans. It means everybody. We're all created equal. We all have a right to our own life. And by demonizing a set of immigrants, whether legal or illegal, it's just like creating, identifying subhumans that aren't worthy of having the same rights as everyone else. That rhetoric on its face is disqualifying. His idea with tariffs is economic nonsense. Tariffs are going to increase prices on goods for American consumers, because we're either going to have to pay higher prices in the form of an imported good and a tariff on top, or we have to buy the domestic product that's already very expensive. So tariffs end up penalizing American consumers. It's a tax. It's a tax. And then the idea of replacing the whole income tax system with tariffs is just another mind-boggling idea. So tariffs are a rotten policy. Him appointing justices that ended up overturning Roe v. Wade, which was clearly a strategy. Not that I ever believed Donald Trump actually has any guiding principles on a woman's right to choose. He doesn't. He just picks the calculated, positions that will gain him the necessary support. So Trump is a con man and needs to be removed from office. So then you probably think, well, okay, then you must be voting for Harris. Like, no, I don't like her either. I mean, not only is she for the border wall, she's for tougher immigration at the border, which I think is the wrong idea. She's also, for tariffs and trade wars, maybe to a lesser degree than Trump. But on many other issues, like this rhetoric we always hear from the Democrats, the rich and the corporations need to pay their fair share. Well, what in the hell is that? I mean, they never define fair share. And now they've rolled out this plan that they want to tax unrealized gains. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is theft. I mean, if people say, well, no, it's no big deal. This taxing of unrealized capital gains is just for rich people. You're not rich, are you? It's just for the uber rich. Well, that doesn't make a difference. The fact is that it's theft. And it doesn't matter if you're stealing from the uber rich, it's still stealing. And, because capital gains, unrealized capital gains are like the equity in your home. When the equity in your home goes up, you shouldn't be taxed more. And yeah, property taxes are done that way in California, which is a BS rule, in my opinion, as well. So when your equity in something increases, that doesn't mean you've experienced any income from it. You don't get any income from it until you sell it, or if you happen to be getting dividends, but mostly if you sell it. And then that's when you would take the capital gain, you have income, and then you pay the income tax. But Democrats don't want an income tax. They want a wealth tax, which is just egregious, in my opinion. A total violation of our inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, and I can go down the list a mile long for Harris. Now, I will say, if someone was sitting here and put a gun to my head and said, you got to pick Trump or Harris, who you picking? I'd pick Harris. But I don't have to pick Harris. And the reason I don't have to pick Harris is because California and the electoral college system, California is a solid blue state. There is absolutely zero chance Donald Trump is going to win California. I mean, in 2020, Joe Biden got 11 billion with a B, 11 million with an M votes. And Trump got 6 million. That was almost a 2-to-1 ratio. That's a landslide. And I think that delta, that landslide could be bigger, but it's definitely not going to be close in California. So I don't have to vote for Kamala Harris. And by the way, it is Kamala, like, the punctuation, comma law. I don't have to vote for Kamala Harris in order to block Trump, because all the rest of the California voters are going to do that for me, because California is overwhelming blue. So I'm not voting for her either. And so then I look at Chase Oliver, the Libertarian candidate, and historically I have voted for Libertarian presidential candidates, including when I've been an independent. Chase Oliver himself, not necessarily a bad guy. He seems like a decent guy, and he's had a little bit of interesting success in Georgia in previous elections. But the Libertarian Party is a train wreck. It's a mess. The leadership is just all over the place, and it's not worthy of support. So I can't fill in a bubble for them. And I'm not going to vote for Kennedy, who's not even an existing candidate, even though he's on the ballot. I'm not voting for Stein, and I'm not voting for Cruz. So what am I doing? I'm not voting at all. I'm not voting at all for President of the United States. I'm abstaining. And my choice is to not choose. My choice is not to sanction Trump or Harris, both of whom I completely disagree with. Well, maybe not completely. There are a few things that Harris has said in this campaign that got my attention. She wants to deregulate local housing zoning laws, which I think would be fantastic. I mean, the NIMBYs in my hometown of Poway would go crazy if that happened. But I think it's important that we, allow more housing to be built. Harris seems to want to do that. Harris, of course, wants to codify a road. There's certain things with Harris I like. Now, there are certain things that I could probably point out on Trump's policies that I would like, but I'm not going to go on record supporting him because I just really oppose Trump. At any rate, I refuse to sanction either of them. I could do a write-in, but what's the point? And I don't really have a good name in mind. So I am abstaining from President of the United States.